What's good, y'all? Paradigm Shifters back with another episode. Only this time, we are here with my boy Martin and Kennedy, the queen. You know what I'm saying? Queen. So it's a pleasure. So now we are actually in front of the Roxy Project, and Martin and Kennedy are going to tell us about their process for developing. We're going to go in and tour the property. We're going to just get a lot of game from them, and this is going to be one for the books. So Martin and Kennedy, can y'all tell us like how much was the acquisition of the lot price?
Yeah.
How much did it cost to build a house?
Yeah.
And just one lesson, I guess, that you would just take from it that maybe you would do differently going forward.
For sure. Well, first, like my brother Markel said, shout out to him and everything he's doing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So you gotta get that gratitude first. But yes, my name is Martin Jones. This is my beautiful wife, Kennedy Jones. And this is the Roxy Project, right? So ladies first, I'll let you talk about the acquisition, and I'll talk about the build.
About the acquisition, and then I can talk about the price in the back end.
Okay, cool. So acquisition of the land.
Make sure you speak to the mic too.
Right. Acquisition of the land was $45,000. $45,000, and this came from a big time seller in Concord, in Cabarrus County. So it's $45,000. Closing with all the fees and everything came out to $51,000 total, right? So build price of that original build price is $165,000. So that's with the foundation. We did a crawl space. We did framing. Framing came about to $31,000. Not gonna go into all the details, but at the end, we came about $24,000 over. So that's about, you do the math, 165 plus 24K. What's that?
A little bit over. It's around 190.
About 191K.
Yeah.
Right. And then for resale, we're trying to get that 365, maybe 370. You know,
come on now.
ARV, we gonna see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's the acquisition of the land price and the build cost total. So we all in probably about 191K total for acquisition and build price. What you got for the people?
You said it all. You
ain't got no gems?
No,
you
I mean,
for the people?
you said
know
everything. That was
Yeah.
a great question.
What's some challenges?
What's some challenges you would say?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think for me, the biggest challenge was being present throughout the whole process and leaning in. So we had the distinct pleasure of working with two phenomenal partners who I'm sure y'all will see in another episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another conversation.
Investors, you know what I'm saying?
Investors, we love y'all. But they have served truly as not just family to us, but mentors. And they've really shown us literally from top to bottom how to do this and how to do it well. But the challenge is really not attaching yourself to the outcome, but being connected to the process and being ingrained in the process. And I would say that's been something we've had to remind ourselves of over and over again, like be present in this. Like this thing is happening fast. And they would tell us, y'all, this is going to happen fast. Like ask the questions, be ingrained in it. And that I would say has been one of the biggest challenges, but also one of the biggest blessings.
Wow. Yeah. So as y'all can see, as we say all the time, relationships are absolutely worth more than money, right? Yeah. And as we look at this beautiful build, this Roxy project, what made y'all elect to go with this type of build versus a more traditional style?
Yeah, well, we always try to be different, and the standard is excellence for anything that we do. And once we partnered with A&E on this property, the main thing was how can we be different, how can we stand out, and how can we place ourselves in an environment to, be excellent in everything that we do. So for this style, as you can see, like the slanted roofs and everything, it just really stood out from the architecture. So we wanted to place it in a environment like Concord to when people pass it and see it, they're like, wow, okay.
That's different.
That's different right there. You know what I'm saying? So that's really why we chose this, because as soon as we saw it, with the architecture, we said we had to go with it. So that's why I would say why we chose this one.
Absolutely. So what is the square footage, the bed and bath, and how do y'all kind of work in tandem? Does one solely focus on the exterior, then the other focus on the interior?
Yeah.
Like, can y'all talk about your partnership as well and how y'all work together?
That's major. So for me, I've had like probably 4 or 5 years in the commercial space of building. So residential, I don't understand fully the residential, but I understand the building component of construction. So this right here is a 1451 square foot building, 3 bed, 2.5 bath. And for really my role in this is really the managing of the process, like the construction part, right? Building part. And you want to talk about your role?
Yeah, so one of the other things that our wonderful partners shared with us is stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. So especially with us, husband and wife, we had to make sure that we established lanes from the beginning.
Yeah.
So knowing his strengths and knowing my strengths, I tend to like to talk numbers. I like to manage the budget.
She's a numbers girl. You know
Not just at the house, but I was like, let's do it with this house. So that's been a big part of my role, is partnering just with the entire team to really figure out where are we from the onset of the project, what are some of our goals, where do we want to stay between, and of course we're gonna strengthen that process every build. But that's been the biggest part of my role, is making sure that if we have goals, if we want to stick within certain parameters financially, let's stick to it, but let's see how creative we can get within those parameters, and also just keeping the team updated every time, looking at our build cost historicals. How much did this cost compared to what we were expecting? So that's been my bread and butter throughout the project, is just talking numbers, which I love to do.
Yeah, look, I tell y'all gotta have somebody on the team that knows the numbers, because you can get excited with picking different colors and different types of things. But if you ain't got nobody to tell you, hey, put that thing back, hey, chill out,
put it back. So speaking of numbers, can y'all talk about like y'all budget for this specific build and how you were able to just stay in that budget and not go over it?
I'm gonna let her explain that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So we had the initial, like our goal, of course, there was a particular amount that we were going to be loaned for the build, right? So we had that amount that was around the 175, right? 178, 500 was the construction loan amount, right? But our goal initially when we started, we said we don't want to use all of it if we don't have to use all of it. So the goal was to come in a little bit lower than that. And like we already shared with y'all, sometimes you come a little bit over what your budget is, but it's good. Also, something we learned as well is to go ahead and factor in the fact that you might go over. So have your overage costs built in there. Have an idea of where you want to stay, but go ahead and factor in, just in case this is a little bit more expensive this time. If we go over $20,000, let's have that budgeted in. Budget in your closing costs. Budget in any of your private money. If you have lenders involved, budget in the interest.
Talk about that.
And which part?
So how many private money interest?
Yeah, so we had 2 private money lenders, one that helped us acquire the land and get the build started, and the other private money investor, same, helped us to continue the project on the onset. Because the more money you have up front, of course, we would want that to be our money that we're able to build with, but the more money that we had in the beginning, that allowed us to really keep moving, keep the project progressing, and that has made all the difference in us being able to achieve the milestone that we did in getting this build in 120 days. Roughly. So having that stair step, and again having great mentors along the way to show you how to stack effectively and plan well, so that then it's just a matter of plugging and playing, and you can use those finances. You keep your private money investors engaged. You give them updates on what their money is looking like. So we would send pictures, all that fun stuff. So did I cover everything?
Yeah, and just to add to that, I'll say the importance of having the knowledge to acquire the land, because honestly, y'all, like, the construction budget is paying for this. You know, if you have a business credit card that's like 30, 40, maybe 50K of business credit that can front the project, you call that first draw, you pull from the construction loan, that's going to pay for the duration of the project. So we think that we got to have 100K to get started and all these different bells and whistles. But y'all, I'm telling you, the knowledge is key, because once you learn something and what really it takes to do this, you realize, like, it don't take nothing but action.
It don't take nothing but action. So I keep hearing OPM, right? Other people's money, right? So y'all spoke on the aspect of OPM from the standpoint of business credit or even personal credit, you know, going towards the acquisition of the land and these sorts of things. But then OPM on the other end with the private equity and or hard money lenders. So y'all brought in 2 private money lenders to be able to continue this project. How does that affect your profit margins?
Well, it affects it
quite a bit.
Heavily. Heavily. So to give some real numbers, we got 2 private money investors, right? One at 50K and one at 55. One is about 18% interest and another is 15% interest. So total is about $17,000. No, that was the holding cost. Yeah, it's about $17,000, right? So that's about, you add the 50 plus the 55, it's about 105.
Come on.
Plus the 17 on top of that, you do the math.
Do the math.
And that's what you got to pay on the back end. Now on the reverse, let's say you got 100 in credit that you can tap into.
Business credit.
The business credit you can tap into, right? Now that 17,000 that you have to pay on the back end gets wiped out.
Right.
And then the numbers, you do the math, they get adjusted from there. But us working on our credit, but I look at it from this perspective, right? We get to help somebody else grow their wealth. So those two private money investors that worked hard, maybe 20 plus, 30 plus years for however long it took them to grow that, we get to help them grow their wealth as well.
Yeah.
So although we have to pay more on the back end, we get to help them grow their wealth as well. So it's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win situation, and clearly perspective is key on this thing. And then by you all actually executing this bill, that means that on the next time, if you were to go to them, the interest will probably be significantly lower. Right? The relationship is already established, and more than likely there will be recommendations with additional private money lenders who have bigger piles and access to cash.
Talk about it.
So you all would be able to leverage that and be able to scale if you wanted to.
100%.
Just for one deal.
You said something big, Markel, because when you think about when you're getting started in any process, we have to ask ourselves, what's the true profit that I'm after? Is the profit monetary, or is the profit education? Is it experience? Because to your point, if we get that educational profit, the knowledge piece, that's the piece that we can start to duplicate. We learn, we get better. And then when we do approach those lenders, when we approach the people that have been working hard for those dollars, there's a significant amount of trust that just increases. That does grow your leverage. So don't just look at leverage as a monetary thing, but look at leverage also as your knowledge, your experience. So you may not get what you were looking for on the back end of your first build or your first project, but look at what you have obtained from a knowledge standpoint and how that's going to feed the next opportunity.
That's good.
So that's good.
That's perfect.
I ain't got nothing else to say after that.
That's it.
She'll say that.
Very good. All right. So what is the anticipated sale price of the Roxy project, and how were y'all able to come up with your name? How does the name kind of correlate with the colorway of the house and the actual materials that were used?
Go ahead and talk about the name.
You can speak to the price, and then I'll share this. Well, I can start with the story around the name. So it's hilarious. Again, working with A&E investors, they've been such great mentors to us. Something that a tradition of theirs is to name every project. So we took that inspiration and we were brainstorming, throwing a lot of names in the chat, and I just felt my creative juices flowing. And I said, you know what, this house, the name of the street, it has, the name of the street is, I don't know if I can share it.
Go ahead,
Okay, Rockland. That's the first part of the street name. And so when I heard Rockland, I said, okay, Rocky. No, that's not it. Roxy. And then I said, okay, now we're flowing. So it took me a few attempts, and I got a little backlash from the haters to my left. But once we landed, there was you, because he was hating. That's exactly where Roxy came from, simply the street name. And it just sat with me for a little bit. And I said, why don't we call her Roxy? Because I feel like that's what it's giving. So that's where the name came from.
Nice.
Nothing super special.
Nice.
And what about the anticipated sale price?
Anticipated sale price. So this is the thing too, how things appreciate. When we first started this, our ARV was $325.
That's correct.
So about 115 days in, the ARV bumped up to about $355, $355, almost $360.
Wow.
So the anticipated sale price, like I said in the beginning of the video, we're looking at around like $360, $365 with some amenities that you'll see in the video in the house. But that's what we're looking at right now, in just about 3.5 months of appreciated value of this land right here.
Nice. And the materials that were used to help the Roxy project come to life.
Yeah, man, the material list is crazy.
I mean,
I got a shout out to EST Design on materials, because the list of materials of how you think about even the efficiency. A quick story, me and Aaron, we came out to lay out the kitchen, right? We thought we was gonna lay out the kitchen. We builders, know how to do this thing.
Right.
So immediately, we were baffled that that wasn't our job. You know what I'm saying? So
staying in the lane, remember?
Stay in your lane.
So to go touch on the materials though, we found out that it's all about efficiency of how the house flows, with like the types of woods, types of colors, types of appliances,
positioning of your appliances.
Positioning of the appliances. It's more in depth than just looking at the plans and building it. It's like, all right, when the family comes into this home,
what mood do you want to evoke?
Come on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Make it real.
Yeah.
Make it real. Think about what you're doing this for. This is not just for us This is for a family to live in this house.
That's right.
You know, for a legacy. You know, they might have their first kid here.
Right.
You know, they might have graduation parties here.
Absolutely.
You know, they got a deck back in the back. Might have cookouts. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, cookouts.
Come through cookouts. It's getting warm too.
It's getting warm outside.
Stop playing.
You know, sun out. You know, so
yeah.
You got to really think about the efficiency of all the colors and materials and things of that sort.
All right. And what are 3 lessons, and ultimately, you know, that you all would have done differently?
Yeah.
Like during this process to be able to help the project run more smoother or become more efficient or even more cost effective? Like, what are 3 things that y'all would have done differently?
3 things we would have done differently.
I can share one that comes to mind, and you can do the second one. So you said, Markel, something about cost efficiency. So since this was my lane, I'm thinking about my lane specifically.
Yes,
what I could have
numbers.
done better, right? What I could have done better from the onset is, even though this was one of our first experiences with building from literally the ground up, one of the things that I would have done differently is on the beginning of the project, partnering with Martin and then Aaron on what their roles are, but getting all of our budget even more aligned from the very beginning to put some parameters, a little bit more clearly defined parameters around us from the jump, so that when it's time for us to make the largest investments in things like our foundation, like our crawl space, things like that, now we're saying these are the areas that we want to stay within, but we have this much wiggle room, and it just gives us some more clearly defined boundaries as we're building. So I want us to be creative. Like, I'm not here to stifle creativity, but coming in on the onset of the project, I think is something that I would have wanted to take more initiative on, even with this being the first build, because I think that was something I could have done better for sure.
Nice.
A tidbit I would add is like hire quick. No, excuse me. Hire slow, fire fast. With these contractors, man, like
the kind of contractors is real.
Hey, yeah, it's real. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, we had some hiccups in a few areas, and I'd say the biggest lesson from this build would be you got to be able to know what your negotiation points are, what your non-negotiation points are in the schedule. Stick to the schedule, stick to the budget, don't negotiate, and keep it as simple as that. When you get in the gray area, that's where a lot of things can be like, you're a good person, I'm gonna let you stay on it. Nah, gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Gotta go. So
gotta go.
That's the thing that I've learned personally of don't negotiate, stick to the budget, stick to the schedule, and keep the main thing.
You said 3, so here's a third. Feel free to add.
Yeah.
So the third that I would add is the best experience is on the ground experience. So being in the room, being literally in the dirt, if it requires that, being a part of the conversations and learning from Ebony when she would talk through the design processes, like asking the questions, seeing how she would walk through the kitchen spaces and all these different things, being on the ground and in the room and being present is necessary for the process. Because it's one thing to understand how to build in theory. It's one thing to understand how to design in theory or how to budget in theory, but when it's applied to the real life situations, it rained today, how do we pivot? You know, anything that comes up, this was delayed because of this inspection going a way that we didn't expect, how do we pivot? So the best experience is being on the ground, being present, and being invested in that process. That's what I would add.
I mean, you hit all the points. I would say just fail fast, fail quick, and learn from the process. Like, as soon as possible, anybody watching this video, like, do it now, do it quick, fail fast, learn from it, get back up, keep going. Don't stop.
Very good. So, I mean, the next thing is like, what's next? What's next for you guys? I mean, you just finished up the Roxy Project. You have great relationships with Aaron as well as Ebony. You know, you have great mentorship. What's next for y'all?
Yeah, look, what's next for us is looking to do more partnerships with A&E, of course. We got another build coming out soon that you guys will find out about with A&E. And then on the another side of ours, we're getting more into like land entitlement deals. So we have a deal currently right now in Gastonia that we're looking to get entitled and hopefully, you know, either do townhomes or sell it to another builder.
Nice.
So looking to get more into the land development on a larger scale space, but that's what's next for us, man. And looking to grow. And
speaking of that new deal, I mean, I was told from a little birdie that y'all got the civil engineer from somebody that we know.
Hey, that dude, he a goat now. He a goat. He a goat now. You know what I'm saying? But relationships and resources, they matter. When I first met Markel, he pulled up, and I kind of knew he was all right because he went to Central. He not all the way all right.
Eagles flying high, baby.
Aggie pride, baby. You know what I'm saying? Aggie pride. But this is my guy. It's all about relationships in general in life, but especially in real estate, man.
Especially in real estate. And then for those relationships, I just want to encourage people to actually pursue what you want to do. And real estate development is a great way to create generational wealth.
Yeah.
And also, when it comes to relationships, be a value add.
Yeah.
People are not, looking to build relationships with leeches.
Yeah.
You have to be able to bring a chair to the table if you want to sit down. So,
hey, ended on that. That's what you said.
Hey, until next time, folks. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace. We gonna take like some